Hello and welcome for a video I am very excited to make. And today I am making a video of me explaining the D&D 5e Paladins in my personal opinion. Paladins are the funnest class to play, my favorite class to play, and the strongest class to play in D&D 5e. Now you may be asking me, what makes the Paladin so damn strong? Well, let's get into it by listing features and overall categories a Paladin falls into. Now, for categories, a Paladin is what is considered a martial half-caster. A martial is a character that mostly uses weapons aside of spellcasting, and a half-caster is someone who has spells, but the progression of spells is half as fast as your standard clerics, bards, sorcerer, wizards, and even warlocks with Mystic Arcanum. Oh gosh, burping up a storm. My bad. Yeah, now let's just get into the Paladin overall things it's nice for. Class features. It starts with a D10 hit dice, which is pretty strong, the second highest in the game. It gets proficiency on armor, all weapons, proficiency saving throws in wisdom and charisma, and can choose from athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion for proficiency at level 1. Overall, a good list of proficiency bonus, being proficient in every weapon, every shield, every armor, 2 decent saving throws. Wisdom, of course, is really powerful, but charisma, it's alright, now we get Divine Sense. Basically, Divine Sense is it's kind of like the little player map on Call of Duty, if you've ever played that. You basically know where any celestial, fiend, or undead is, as long as they're not under, total cover. But you can't tell who exactly they are. So, for example, you can tell what race they are. So you can tell if you sense a celestial or if you sense an undead. You can tell, but you can't tell exactly who they are. So you couldn't, for example, sense Gabriel, the divine archangel, or from any other angel. They would all seem the same. It's a good feature. You can use it as many as times equals +1 plus your charisma modifier, and when you finish a long rest, you regain all uses. It can be useful. It cannot be. It's good. Next, we get Lay on Hands, and basically, 5 times your Paladin level, you get a pool of hit points you can just give out to anyone as an action. It's really strong. At level 1, just being able to give back your sorcerer, wizard, probably over half of your HP, if we're being honest, is really strong and gives you some of the best healing outside of Good Berry. But Good Berry is just ridiculously broken at low levels. And you do gain back all expended uses on a long rest, and for a little fun bonus, if you spend 5 points of Lay on Hands healing, you can cure any one disease or status inflictment on a character. So, which is actually pretty nice. But next we get fighting styles. Now, Paladins is a martial class, and some martial classes get fighting styles, and Paladins do. They get one new one that hasn't already been covered with the fighter, so if you want to know what every fighting style does, go check out the fighter video. But they get Blessed Warrior. Basically, you can learn 2 cantrips from the Cleric spell list. Now, looking at the Cleric spell list, there are some decent spells here. Guidance can be nice, Mending, Light, Sacred Flame for some damage. They do use your Charisma modifier, not Wisdom, so to put that out. But overall, I wouldn't recommend it. Especially when you have things like blind fighting, or defense, or dueling, or even protection, interception. Things like that, I really don't think Blessed Warrior can come into effect. But next we got Paladin spellcasting. The Paladin are half casters, but the thing with Paladin spellcasting is most of the time, now this may sound weird, you won't be using Paladin spell slots for Paladin spells. Now you may be asking, what else will you be using spell slots on? Well, the second level 2 feature, called Divine Smite, is what most Paladins will be using their spell slots on. Basically, for one first level spell slot, you can do an extra 2d8 damage on any melee attack that you hit. Yeah, it's as broken as it sounds. It's not a once per turn. It's once per attack. So if you attack a creature one time, you can add 1 Divine Smite, but if you attack them again, you can do another Divine Smite. You attack them a third time, another, as many attacks as you have, you can Divine Smite on every single one of those attacks. So if you pick like a samurai fighter and do like 18 attacks, you can Divine Smite 18 times. Granted, you have to have the spell slots for 18 Divine Smites, but still, my point still stands. And overall, if you upcast them, meaning you use a higher level spell slot than one, you gain one extra d8 per higher spell slot than one. So for example, at level 2, if you waste a level second level spell slot, you get 3d8, a third, 4d8, a fourth. Uh, oh damn it! Well, you guys get it. 5d8. That's 6. Okay, second, third, 4. Okay, my brain is just fried. Okay, I completely ignore it. But yeah, it's pretty strong. And also, but fun little thing, if you're attacking a fiend or undead, you get an extra 1d8. So your maximum amount of damage you can do against a fiend or undead, upcasting a divine smite, is 6d8, which is pretty damn strong. Um, so yeah, actually, I think the maximum level you can bolster your divine smite is to third level. Higher than to a maximum of 5d8. Because I wonder if that's the maximum amount you can add or the maximum amount you can do. I think that's the maximum amount you can do for one level spell slot. So yeah, that's pretty strong. Being able to just get an extra 5d8 damage will always be strong, or at maybe even 6d8. It's nice. I definitely do recommend it, and yeah, I think it's pretty strong. Next we get Divine Health. Basically, you're immune to all diseases. Yeah, it's strong. Oh, for your spellcasting ability that completely just ran right through it because of Divine Smite, you do use your Charisma modifier for all spellcasting abilities, which is pretty good because there are certain multi-classes that you can definitely abuse it. That Charisma modifier stat. Next, at third level, we get our Sacred Oaths, but we do get an ability called Channel Divinity. Channel Divinity is basically an extra little ability you can get. It can be anything ranging from plus into attack rolls to advantage on every single attack roll in the turn, or maybe advantage on charisma persuasion checks, or something of that. It can really be anything, any spell effect you can imagine. It can probably be a channel divinity. They do come back on a short rest, and if they use a saving throw DC, they use your spell save DC. But next we get Harness Divine Power. Basically, you can use one of your Channel Divinity slots and turn it into a spell slot. That spell slot can be no higher level than what half your proficiency bonuses rounded up. So yeah, pretty strong. We get ability score improvements at level 4, 8, 12, 16, and 19. Standard, like everyone else. We get martial versatility. You can switch out your fighting style anytime you get an ability score improvement. Standard, like every other class that has, fighting styles. At level 5, you get extra attack, so meaning, as a paladin, you can do 2 divine smites at level 5 now. Granted, you do waste 2 level 1 spell slots bare minimum, but still, it's worth it. But next, we get Aura Protection. Easily the most broken paladin ability in the game. Basically, within a 10 feet radius of you, every friendly creature that is within 10 feet of you gets a plus to any saving throw they make equal to your charisma modifier. Now, level 18, that aura turns into 30 feet. This is so broken. For the simple reason of it's just with certain builds, you can make your aura protection be your you can make your charisma stat be your highest stat with certain builds and still work better than every other paladin. So it's just that meaning like if you play the right build, you can have your everyone in your party have a +5 to any saving throw guaranteed. And that usually ends up with, even if your teammates have a really bad saving throw, they still probably will never end up with higher than like a 3 on a saving throw if they're not proficient, and if they have like a -1, which is a 4. But if they have a -2, then yeah. So overall, this is pretty good. For all of those like really dumb fighters and barbarians, having a +5 to any saving throw if you're building like the correct type of paladin can really just bolster your strength in general. Next, we get Ura of Courage. Starting at 10th level, you and friendly creatures from 10 feet of you can't be frightened while you're conscious. Pretty good. 30 feet Aura at level 18. At level 11, we get Improved Divine Smite. Basically, every time we Divine Smite, it deals an extra 1d8 radiant damage. Pretty strong, pretty good. I like it. Next, we get Cleansing Touch. Beginning at 14th level, you can use your action to end one spell on yourself or one running creature that you touch. You can use this feature equal to your Charisma modifier, and odds when to use this come back on a long rest. Basically, if your friend's polymorphed, no they aren't. If your friends out there hypnotic pattern, no they aren't. Web, no they aren't. Whatever, they're just not. Which no saving throw, by the way. No, you don't have to roll anything. They just aren't. If you can touch them, yeah. If you can touch them, they just aren't affected by it, which can cripple so many bosses. Overall, I think the Paladin is amazing. In general, that is my overall class overview. Now I'll be getting into more like metagamey, multi-class type builds and stuff like that. So if you don't want to listen to that and just want to what a Paladin's good at, then you can probably click off the video. And yeah, the Paladins do have a spell list. In reality, none of these spells are good enough to like be using outside of just like smiting. So maybe if you want, you could take Shield of Faith and just have that up because that's pretty strong. Bless can be good. If you don't have any other Bless users, like even at then, it's like I think I think one of your attack dealing an extra 2d8 will always be stronger than getting an extra d4 for a minute. Because this only works on in like combat. And this is concentration too. So this can go away in the blink of an eye. Something like a Divine Smite will always take effect, or just you won't end losing resources. So Shield of Faith is still very strong. Um, yeah, I would recommend using Shield of Faith. It does last for 10 minutes, so you can't go back to back in combat. But aside from that, the Paladins don't have many spell slots I really like. Are like, wow, this is. I mean, Revivify and Revivify. Yeah, this take the spell. Yeah. I take back what I said. Revivify is probably the only time you should be using this spell slot outside of like maybe Shield of Faith. Aura of Life is alright, but it can be good. 5th level didn't really have anything too strong. Holy Weapon's nice, but Divine Smite, man. So yeah, now to get into the more multi-classic type of builds for race, I think Variant Human will do a Paladin Grand because with Variant Human, getting a free feat just allows your Paladin to just feel less constricted when it comes to ASIs. Which I feel like the Paladin and I feel like Marshals in general do have that problem where there's no multi-ability score dependent, but not all of them have the ASI the fighter does. When the ASI only needs a good strength and constitution, that's it. And they can have like 15 different feats. So I feel like all marshals probably should get extra feats than spellcasters simply because they do require more ability scores to just be strong. Especially things like paladins, rangers, and monks definitely deserve it. But for race human, half orc can also be quite shiced, to quote base lord CTC. Um, half orc can also be pretty nice. But overall, I think just stick to variant human. If you want to, you can play a variant human that has like a cool like scaling armor. I don't know. Yeah. You can be a variant human but not be like boring. You can be a variant human that has like a dragon arm, or a variant human that has like dragon horns, or orc freaking or orc teeth jutting out. Well, you can do something cool. That's something I don't really like when people play variant humans and don't give them any cool like quirks. Like, if you're playing a variant human, make them have something that normal humans don't. Like I don't know, like it doesn't have to be something big. It can just be something simple. Like, I don't know. That's just me. Like how I feel. But overall, when it comes to multi-classing for paladins, warlock is just oh, broken. For people wondering why, Hexblade. I made a video on Hexblade warlocks. Go watch it. But for the TLDR, shield, Hexblade's curse, Hex warrior. Yeah, this is it's really strong. Look at there's not much I can say. Honestly, it's so strong. In fact, that because the thing is, when building a hex warrior, you can't make a polearm master, great weapon master using like paladin until a little bit later on. And what I mean is for hex warrior, basically allows you to use charisma for any attack except for two-handed weapons. But when you get packed to the blade, which is at 3rd level, that restriction goes poof. It just disappears. Which meaning a 3 level dip into Warlock just makes the paladin brain dead busted. There's not. I'm not gonna put in like a nicer way. 3 level dip into warlock makes the paladin so unfathomably just busted. It's insane. And heck, even if you don't want to, like, even if you don't want to attack with your charisma for some weird reason, still getting Hexblade's curse is still just strong. Getting your proficiency bonus added onto damage rules for free is still strong. Getting the shield spell is still strong. You can use, you can have Shield of Faith, use Shield, have Adamantine Plate, and have a shield all in one turn and just beat. You can do that and just destroy everything. And overall, I just think you're just so strong. And overall, I just love how powerful this multi-class is. Now, granted, it is, you do have to, you now if you do want to play like a Hexblade Warlock multi-class that uses Great Weapon Master, Polar Master, you probably will have to wait for the later levels. Because if I'm being honest, I feel like as a starting class, you should always take Paladin because you get heavy armor proficiency, and that's the only way you can get it. Unless you take a first level dip into Cleric, but man, you don't really want to do that. So overall, I recommend if you want to make a Hexblade just really rough, not really reading too many, I recommend 1 level of Paladin. You will be the weakest member of your party because this will be a charisma based guy. So you're probably at first level. Honestly, don't play if you're planning on making a Hexblade Warlock Paladin multiclass. Don't play a first level campaign. See if you can play at like second or third level, preferably, because that would just be way better. So I recommend getting 2 levels of Hexblade Warlock. Make 2 levels, 2 levels of Paladin, and then just going 3 into Hexblade Warlock. Now, I am gonna have to pull out some things, and since because this is like a little, this is the section where you can skip or go watch another video man if you want to. I'm not forcing you to stay here. But now, if we go do some reading, which I know Dragon Ball fans are hating right now. Booming Blade. If we read the exact word, make a melee attack. Now, if we read the Paladin's Divine Smite, weapon attack, melee attack. This use and make a melee. So that the thing is, from what I'm reading, you should be able to make Booming Blade because you're making a melee attack. But it's saying you have to make a melee weapon attack. So I'm wondering, can you use Booming Blade? Let me pull up another tab here. Hold on, folks. Can you use Booming Blade? I'm just doing some research here. So from what I'm reading here, alright, so from what I'm reading from my searches, according to official D&D Beyond, you should be allowed to do it. Yeah, according to D&D Beyond, to some people were asking in like chat rooms, you can do it. Ask your DM first, but just tell them that every other site you read says yes, you can do it. But if your DM doesn't allow it, then boo-hoo. I guess. But from what I know, you should be able to Booming Blade and Paladin because you just have to do a melee weapon attack. And I don't know why Booming Blade doesn't say like melee weapon, because what else would you be using? What other way would you be channeling Booming Blade? I don't see any other way you would be using Booming Blade if it wasn't with like a melee weapon attack. I think it's because it's just a weapon attack, so then like you can use ranged. So okay, you just make like no, it's a melee. You can't. I guess if you like punch, I guess if you batter someone over the head with like a crossbow, you can. But technically, Booming Blade, you would be making a melee weapon attack. So you should be able to do it. And if your DM is watching this video, let your players do it. Pretty please, please. Thank you. I allow players to do it because it's fun. So yeah, definitely I would recommend 2 levels of Paladin, then 3 levels of Hexblade Warlock, Pact of the Blade, and then from there on, the rest Paladin. Or until you reach level 6, then at that point your build is kind of perfected. So yeah, it does take level 9 for your build to be like perfected, which is kind of long. I'm not gonna hold you. Some builds take forever to reach. Some builds freaking take up to like level 12 to reach. So level 9 build, hmm, and that's until you get aura protection, really. But in reality, I would say like on level 3, so like at level 6 is when your build fully is like realized. No, you're not level. I mean, yeah, because you can still make a good build. You don't have to have Hexblade Warlock Paladin. You don't have to have it. Granted, it's just the Hexblade Warlock Paladin just does make it better. And honestly, because the thing is, with the Hexblade's curse, it says you can't use any item that has the two-handed property. But I'm pretty sure every item with the heavy has two-handed. Yeah, every item with heavy has two-handed. So it's not like you can use a heavy weapon and just not, and it's all weapons are heavy and two-handed, which is kind of like dumb and annoying. And I don't know why they just didn't put heavy two-handed weapons. There's not any, like every heavy weapon's two-handed. Every two-handed weapon's heavy. Uh, yeah, that's dumb. But whatever. Yeah. I mean, so at the end of the day, you don't need Great Weapon Master. You can still just like be using you can still be using a polearm. For example, you can be using a spear, maybe a quarterstaff. You can still be using something like a spear and a quarterstaff to use divine smites. Granted, just make sure you take the dueling fighting style and you're using a shield or dual wield. Honestly, you could just dual wield. Yeah, there's nothing stopping you from just dual wielding spears. No, would it have to be light to dual wield? Oh damn. I think you have to do it light. In other ways, you can like just do wield a light. Like either ways, like you can just do wield a light weapon. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what is. It doesn't matter its damage. That's the thing. That's what makes Polar Master so strong. Its damage isn't what matters. It's its like main ability is what matters. If you want to, it can be using 2 daggers and just or like 2 short swords. What is it? 2 short swords? I'm assuming. What are short swords? Are they light? Yeah, they're light. You can be using 2 short swords or like 2 scimitars and just be like a divine smiting machine. You could just do that. So at the end of the day, you don't even have to take Polar Master. It's just Polar Master is like the best way to do it because Polar Ones are like a D10. But man, you don't have to. In reality, you don't have to. You can still build a paladin that has that can smite like 3 times in a turn and still do insane damage. Or just hey, screw all of that nonsense and just booming blade every turn. So anyways, there's so many ways to build a paladin, especially Hexblade Paladin, which I will be building one as soon as I cover like at least a paladin subclass, Vengeance Paladin subclass. I will be once I cover the Vengeance Paladin subclass, I will be covering overall how to build a Hexblade Paladin multi-class. But yeah, that's all for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, OT19 signing out. I bid you a peace. Woohoo!